mistake. It was his mistake.
Big Hero 6 was a failed Marvel comic that was supposed to appeal to Japanese audiences but never took off. It lasted a very short amount of time in the 90s, and then someone at Disney decided, hey, we own Marvel, let's make an adaptation of, well, this random-ass comic, see if we can make something out of it. Despite being based off a comic, the film is pretty much an entirely original movie. It basically has nothing to do with that comic, and that comic no longer exists. They cannot make comics with the original characters. Disney won't allow them. Kind of funny. So yes, this is technically a Marvel movie, but you wouldn't really know that because, like I said, this film really has nothing to do with Marvel or anything. And also, surprisingly, this film has no sequel in the works right now, which is kind of strange since this film feels like it was made for a sequel, but whatever. The only thing Marvel in this movie is that there's an end credit scene where Stan Lee is the dad of T.J. Miller character for some reason, and yeah, that's it. This is never going to follow it up because unfortunately Stan Lee died. R.I.P. So what is this movie about? Because, well, it's kind of a weird film. Disney has a formula at this point. They're doing a traditional musical, one movie, and the next movie it will be a kind of a more Pixar-esque film, which is a pattern they will repeat, as you'll obviously see the next reviews. Well, not the next one. This film is about grief, basically, and the fact that a character has to deal with grief, and also does the villain. It is done okay, however, there is some things it messes up. Essentially, there's this kid who has a brother, and he's like, yeah, I can invent stuff, I'm a boy genius, and I like my brother, but unfortunately, my brother dies, he gets blown up in an explosion.
That was his mistake.
So there are some movies, the main character, whose name is Hero, grieving over the fact that his brother died, for the help of his brother's last invention, which is Baymax, who's a healthcare provider, and who's obviously the best character in the movie, but, I mean, it's kind of obvious. Who else is going to be a better character? The villain in the movie? Yeah, I don't think so. There is also a villain who is trying to take him down because he's investigating the villain. Why? Because the villain stole his invention that he used at a fair before they exploded and killed his brother. That was obviously his mistake, though. So there's a mystery behind who this guy is, but it's pretty obvious because at this point Disney was doing twist villains, so it's going to be the guy that you least suspect, but at the same time you do suspect him. Uh-oh, it was this guy. He decided that he wants to get revenge to deal with his own grief, but it's poorly established, and it takes to the very end of the movie for it to be established. And then he just says, like, fuck that out of your brother. That was his fucking mistake for dying like an idiot. A lot of people don't like this villain because his motivations is kind of weak, but for me, it works, but it's just the fact they try to make it a twist and try to make it like it's a clever twist, more so than focusing on the character's motivation and uniqueness is the worst part about it. I actually don't think this guy is that bad of a villain. I think his costume and power sets are actually pretty cool, and he can be intimidating at times. It's just the fact that his motivation is kind of weak, and the fact he doesn't care that someone died makes him a weaker villain. Honestly, with a couple of minor tweaks, this guy could have been considered one of the better Disney villains, on par with some other great ones, but unfortunately the script just wasn't right there. It almost is there, but it fails, like the swirling wheel you see right in front of your face. In my opinion, this film should have been the relationship between the hero and the villain, and through their different processing through their grief, which is an interesting concept. However, the rest of the film is mostly just about building a team with these weird characters who are pretty hit and miss. They're kind of one note, and there's a little bit too much of them. I know it's supposed to be about a team up, but at the same time, they're not really focused enough. Most of it is just a hero interacting with Baymax and trying to solve a villain, and these guys just come in, they're like, okay, I guess we're a team now. It's not really baked into the material. Then, of course, like, oh yeah, this guy's obviously the villain, but he's not, so what's the point even doing it? It's not a good twist, so what was the point? And I understand that these characters are supposed to be emotional support for the character, showcasing that emotional support helps you during the grieving process, but you really only need Baymax for that. You don't need Fred in his stupid-ass costume. God, I hate T.J. Miller. Does anyone actually like this guy? He's fucking annoying. Not that I hate these characters, it feels like they were made for a TV show, which, of course, there's a TV show for this movie, but yeah, as they are, they're just okayer than the one obvious character. They don't really add a whole lot to the film. Even the relationship to Hero is kind of weak. They were friends with his brother, not really him, and now they're like, oh yeah, we're best friends with you now, I guess. Okay, whatever. I'd say one of the strongest elements of this film is the animation. Now their CGI in Disney is finally, I feel like, on par with Pixar at this point, and they have some great design, especially for this world they created. In the comics, it was just Tokyo. They're all Japanese-based superheroes, but here they decided to make it a combination of San Francisco and Tokyo to make a new city called San Francisco, which is kind of crazy, but the world design and world building for background stuff is actually pretty cool. Not like that great world building stuff, but the design is amazing. I honestly like looking at the backgrounds most in this movie more than anything else, and there is some pretty good action sequences. It's a nice film to look at, and it's nice, since Disney CGI was kind of a little janky. Even in some of their more other films before this, there was a little margin of error, but here I don't have any problems with any of the animation design or anything else. It's all pretty solid. So yeah, this film's is good, but it's not spectacular. It does everything fine, though I feel like it could just one step away from being excellent. There are some great emotional moments, and it felt like if Baymax was in this movie would be a lot worse. He's a great character. He's funny, and he also is involved with action scenes, which is kind of great. He's a great design, and he's an interesting character. And I like the relationship between the two brothers, even though there's not that much screen time. You don't expect him to die, and I actually think it does a good job of dealing with that in the grieving process. It's one of the better elements of the film. Like I said, I wish they did better parallel between the main hero and the villain better, then they could have worked even better, but oh well. Big Hero 6 has some flaws, but for the most part, it's fun, and it does some things pretty well. It's definitely one film I recommend watching, because it is pretty unique in the superhero genre, and it does a lot of fun things. Not the best Disney film, but it's a whole lot of fun, and I definitely recommend anyone watching it, for those who haven't. Though it does do that one thing where a character has a fake-out death, and that's always stupid. Here, the character Baymax is going to sacrifice himself, but he doesn't really, because he just sent his chip out. And yes, it's buffering again, don't mind that. Disney has a history of doing these fake-out deaths, but here it just feels really pointless, especially since we already know what's going to happen. There's a whole TV series and everything, even a short called Baymax, like whatever. You're not tricking anybody. One of the characters you might expect to be in the film more based off certain internet things is the aunt, but she's barely in the movie, despite the fact that she has a lot of certain art on the internet. Is it weird that in these certain animations, the voice matches the character model better than the actual movie? Is that weird? Or is that just me? But yeah, this character has more screen time in these certain high-quality animations than the actual movie, and I'm leaving it at that, and that's it. So Big Hero 6 has its own TV show, which isn't surprising, seeing as they set up that there's going to be more adventures of these characters. I don't know much about the series, but it didn't run for 5 seasons, so it must have been somewhat popular. It seems like it would translate pretty well on TV, or at least a sequel, but yeah, here. The only video I saw said this series is awful, but who knows. Let me know if this show is good. It looks like it has decent animation. It's stylized, it's fun, whatever. Also, there's a short spin-off of the series that's called Chibi Shorts, where it's Chibi, I guess, and whatever, who the hell cares. Instead of actually getting a sequel, we got a short series with shorts following Baymax, and he just helps people, I guess. It's kind of strange, and from what I've seen, it's not very good, in my opinion. It kind of sucks ass, but that's just me. Much like a lot of other Disney movies, there's a video game adaptation, though like the previous films, there's only mobile versions, no home console releases. Big Hero 6 had Battle in the Bay on the 3DS as well as the DS, making this one of the last games released on the console, so that's kind of interesting. It's a basic 2D platformer where you can switch between certain characters. Yeah, it looks alright, I guess. I'm very curious to see how it plays in the Nintendo DS. Seeing a 2014 game on the DS is kind of strange, but whatever. So there was an app game for Big Hero 6 called Bot Fight. Can you guess what it is? It's just another Candy Crush Bejeweled clone. Why? Why are there so many generic apps like this? In this version, I know there's nothing more to it since there's like other things to do it, but it's just basically the same thing over and over again. How many of these clones are people going to like? Apparently not, because this game was discontinued in 2016, so you can't play it. Sorry all those people who wanted to play this lovely looking game. The only other game there is was another application, and wow, this one looks also very original. I haven't seen this style gameplay. I've never seen an Endless Runner before. Yeah, it's just an Endless Runner. Whip de freaking do. When it comes to themed areas, there is actually one Big Hero 6 themed area called San Francisco Bay, which is obviously based off the movie area. There is no rides here since it's just a basic retheming of a park that desperately needs it, that being Disney's California Adventure. They decided, okay, instead of just having a San Francisco area, we'll just make it based up on our movies. Some people complain about this because the original theming was so great. California theme park in California. I actually saw a video where they complained about this. Yeah, I guess some people don't like new things. Some things replacements are bad. I'm not forgive Disney for what they did Country Bear Jamboree recently, but some of this stuff, like, yeah, I mean, come on. California theming at California that makes no sense, and I'm sorry. I wouldn't go to a New Jersey theme park in New Jersey, which is where I'm from, by the way. Yeah, make all the Jersey jokes you want. So currently, the only ride of Big Hero 6 related is the Happy Ride with Baymax in Tokyo Disneyland, I believe. Maybe it's the Tokyo Sea, but yeah, I forgot to check it. It's a basic teacup style ride, but you have a little Baymax car. Yeah, it's neat. It's fine. Yeah, nothing special here. So that's it for this Big Hero 6 and all its media stuff. Let's go on to the tier rankings. Big Hero 6 goes in the B tier with an 8 out of 10 rating. It's good, but like I said, it doesn't do anything spectacular enough. It's good enough to be a B tier, but nothing else. It's kind of in the middle of that tier, if you couldn't tell. I mean, you can tell, you have eyes. Unless you're watching this and you're blind. And thank you for watching. Hope you like the sound of my voice, because that's all you're hearing if you're blind. I'm sorry. I talked about Callahan in the villainous retrospective part of this video, but yeah, most of what I said stays true to him. Top of E tier for me. He's almost like a not a bad villain per se, but a lot of it is a little clunky and the delivery is just bad. Honestly, if they did a better reveal early on, develop the character a bit better, he probably would have been higher. But at the same time, just wasting it on a twist and like, oh, this guy was Cray. Yeah, he's the villain. Oh, actually, no, it was this guy. That was his mistake. All that makes him kind of even though I think there is a nugget of goodness there, which makes him not F tier for me, even though a lot of people might put him there. If you see some of those F tier guys, he's not Hans. His makes sense why he's a villain. Unlike Hans, who just randomly swaps randomly. Like, yeah, he's a good guy, he helps help out, but now he's just pure evil, and we all hate him. I have a bigger problem with that than Callahan, who at least makes a moral standing. It's not like he changed before and after. He just made a really stupid mistake by saying that was his mistake. But whatever. Big Hero 6 only has one song in the movie, and that would be fine if the song was good. It is not. Immortal by Fall Out Boy is awful. I hate Fall Out Boy, to be honest. Technically I should like them because they're in a genre that I'm particularly fond of, but they're like the worst example of it. They're like they are awful. I don't even like their older stuff. They're terrible. Their name's stupid. My songs and What You Did in the Dark song's one of the worst things I heard in my life. Though that's a different song. Immortal just sucks. It's just them repeating "We can be immortal" over and over again, which really has nothing to do with the theming of the movie at all. Like, what the fuck? We can be immortal? Get the fuck out of here, Fall Out Boy. They're not even trying to do something that would make them immortal, which we would think be like, oh, it's a metaphor for trying to be, gain fame or something like that, but they're not trying to do that, so what the fuck does that have to do with anything? It's a stupid shitty pop song they play twice, one for the first credit part, and of course, for during a montage scene, which would have been a lot better if it didn't have it. So fuck Immortal and fuck Fall Out Boy, and that's all I gotta say about that. So I will see you next time for the next movie, which will take us to Furryland. I'm not joking. And that movie is Zootopia. I will see you then, whenever that is, which is next time I do a review on Disney movies.